you.
This call is now being recorded.
Chapter 11, Super Grateful. Megan Mercury.
Who knew? Of all the people I thought might have turned out to be the super kid, Noah Euclid was dead last on that list. This went far beyond not judging a book by its cover. You couldn't judge this book by its cover, pages, about the author section, or even by the barcode or the ISBN number on the back. There's nothing good about this book, not even if the store put it on special sale where they paid you to take it off their hands. But there's no denying it. Noah had saved our lives and our home. He may have been the worst cheerleader in the history of humanity, but I owed him everything.
2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we?
Even in my head, I couldn't force myself to finish the line.
Appreciate. What's your problem, Megan? No sentence is more familiar to a cheerleader.
But the appreciating wasn't the issue. It was the person getting appreciated. When we went over to Noah's house to thank him in person, I tried to work up some of the emotion that I felt for him: gratitude, admiration, friendship. But one look at him, and it just wasn't there. He was still the clumsy oaf who had single-handedly ruined my cheerleading squad. I strained to notice something positive about him I hadn't seen before. Maybe his shoulders were broader than I remembered. They weren't. Or his voice was deeper. It wasn't. Or he was taller. Oh, please. Or more clear-eyed. He had conjunctivitis from severe allergies. Face it. If he'd kept the Hindenburg from exploding instead of one little propane truck, he'd still be Noah. Mom, Dad, and Peter took turns hugging him. Well, I had to do it too. It was awful. I told Noah.
I'm very grateful.
Well, because at least that part was true. He said,
I'm glad it was your house.
I know he meant it in a good way, but it made me want to punch him.
Positivity.
I reminded myself. I thought everything would be less painful once we were back at school. But that turned out to be wishful thinking. Principal Verlander called an assembly so we could all congratulate the super kid, and I had to hug him again, this time in front of 900 people. In the crowd, Miss Torres kept gesturing at me, pointing to the sides of her mouth. That was the signal for more smiling, but I just couldn't pull it off. I was a cheerleader, not a wizard. Wherever Noah walked in the halls, a buzz of excited conversation followed.
That's him. That's a super kid. He saved Megan Mercury's life, you know.
I got sick of hearing it, so I snapped.
He did not save my life. He saved my house.
I hissed at the bewildered seventh grader.
And for all we know, the propane might not have even exploded. Yeah, but if it had, then your house would have been on fire.
He mused.
And maybe you wouldn't have gotten out alive. I would have made it.
I insisted. I thought I was keeping my voice low, but I guess I was too emotional. We were the center of attention. Worst of all, Noah himself was there, listening with keen interest.
Oh, hi, Noah.
I said, my face twisting.
We were just talking about the great thing that you did.
At lunch, I emerged from the food line to find my usual table completely full. All my friends and fellow cheerleaders gathered around Noah. Even Vanessa, who still had a bandage across the bridge of her nose. Noah was recounting the story with the propane truck, and they were hanging on to his every last word, worshiping the boy wonder.
Weren't you scared?
Asked Vanessa in a somewhat nasal tone.
There wasn't time to be.
Noah replied.
Protecting Megan's house was all that mattered. Of course, I did not know it was Megan's house then. I just saw people in danger and realized I was the only one who could help them.
I stood there balancing my tray and clearing my throat meaningfully. Nobody so much as glanced in my direction except Noah himself. He looked up and he said,
Everyone move over. Make room for Megan.
Suddenly, the idea of having to thank Noah again became just too much for me.
That's okay.
I told him stiffly.
I've got a lot of homework to do before sixth period.
I selected a table on the opposite side of the cafeteria and sat down to eat. Every bite tasted like cardboard.
Wow.
Came a voice.
Megan Mercury's all alone in the lunchroom.
I groaned. Daniel Nussbaum, my second favorite person in the whole school. There he was with his best friend Daniel Sanderson, Tweedledum and Tweedledummer.
Hey,
Sanderson exclaimed.
if we eat lunch with the head cheerleader, do you think we can become as cool as she is? We'll never be as cool as the super kid.
Nussbaum admitted.
But maybe we can make it up to Megan's level.
I glared at them.
Fine. Bust my chops. Get it over with so quick so we can all eat in peace.
Sanderson slid across the bench next to me and took a mighty bite of his egg salad sandwich.
You seem kind of cranky for someone who's just been saved from the jaws of death.
I didn't answer. These creeps were like a black hole that sucked all of my positivity. Maybe if I ignored them, they'd go away.
Hey guys, is that Noah sitting in the middle of all those cheer?
It was Donovan Curtis. The minute his eyes fell on me, the word cheerleader died on his tongue.
Noah's so popular now.
Nussbaum exclaimed.
Who would have thought he'd turn out to be the super kid instead of, somebody else? He never struck me as the stop a runaway truck type.
Sanderson agreed.
It just shows how wrong you can be about a guy.
Donovan replied, his words clipped. I felt like they were saying one thing and meaning another. I could have asked about it, but that would have meant that I cared what these three idiots had to say. And believe me, I didn't.
Noah deserves all the attention he's getting.
So help me, they were making me crazy to the point where I was actually going to say nice things about Noah.
Good for him. Guess Noah's going to be the guest of honor at your big birthday party this year.
Nussbaum prodded.
So sorry. Oh, seeing as how you're so grateful to him.
I dropped my fork. In all the excitement of near disaster, I totally forgotten my party was coming up in a couple of weeks. How could I get away with not inviting the guy who made it possible for me to have another birthday in the first place?
Well,
I stammered.
The invitations have already gone out. Mine must have gotten lost in the mail.
Sanderson concluded.
And the guest list as well. It's already set.
I rambled on. Ever since elementary school, my annual birthday party had been the ultimate bash for kids in our grade. It was always the first pool party, right when the weather was starting to warm up. Best of all, I only invited cheerleaders, athletes, and other cool people, which explained why Tweedledum, Tweedledummer, and Tweedle Donovan never made the cut. And if the encyclopedia had a heading under least likely be invited, there'd be a picture of Noah at the top of the page. It wasn't as if I decided not to invite him. It's just never would have even crossed my mind for the billionth of a second that it would have taken to say, no way. But now,
of course, Noah's on there.
Nussbaum announced.
Can you imagine the kind of jerk Megan would look like if she didn't invite the guy who saved her life? I might not have died.
I blurted. Then I covered up by adding,
And obviously Noah's invited. How shallow do you think I am?
my appetite gone, I dumped my tray into the garbage and marched over to the usual table. The super kid was still holding court.
Hey, Noah.
I called,
You're coming to my birthday party, right?
and I stormed out of the cafeteria without waiting to hear his answer. Hold on just a second. Hang on. Maybe his family would be out of town that weekend. A girl could dream. It's been a lousy day, but at least I had a lacrosse game to look forward to that afternoon. A home against Rutherford Junior High. And when Noah didn't show up at the field before the start, my heart soared. Could it be that the super kid was too important and too busy to be a cheerleader anymore? Maybe he had interviews to do, or calls of congratulations from the president or the Queen of England. Maybe he's being measured for his wax figure at Madame Tussauds. I didn't care, so long as it kept away from the squad. Rutherford, where our neighbors and division rivals, and they always attracted a lot of students from both schools. The stands were full and atmosphere was rowdy. I was balanced atop of the human pyramid when all at once the crowd noise swelled to a roar. Everyone, even the Rutherford kids, were stomping on the metal bleachers and screaming. I threw my arms up in a gesture of triumph. Nobody was watching me. Nobody was watching any of the Lady Hornets. Even though we trained as hard as the athletes and had made it to the middle school state cheerleading finals 2 years running. From my vantage point at the apex, I saw what all the fuss was about. He had arrived. He jogged out onto the field in his clumsy, butt-battering style. I screamed.
Abandoned pyramid let me down.
Because Noah was heading right for us, and for sure he would take out the formation and send us all flying. My dismount wasn't graceful, but at least I landed on my feet and not my head. He blundered into our midst, and the girls shouted around, high-fiving him. The audience went nuts, and it was pretty obvious that this was more than the usual ovation that he always got for falling flat on his face. The chant rose from the stands.
Super kid, super kid.
My cheeks burned hot. I put my heart and soul into creating the greatest cheers and the best routines in the whole county. But all anybody wanted to look at was a guy with 2 left feet. Noah was pushing his way through the squad towards me, shouting something I couldn't hear over the crowd noise.
What?
I demanded.
Yes.
He replied.
Yes, what? What are you talking about? Yes, I am coming to your party.
All at once, the crush of people on the sideline parted, and a hashtag stepped out in front of us. I was stoked. If there's one kid who appreciated Noah even less than I did, it was hashtag, whose arm was still in a sling, thanks to Brouhaha Noah, who had been mixed up in it. If anyone could knock the super kid down a peg, it has to be the town's top athlete. The crowd grew quiet as the two of them confronted each other. Suddenly, hashtag broke into a grin. With his free hand, he grasped Noah's wrist and raised his arm above his head, championship boxer style. Fans of both teams were absolutely berserk. I pulled hashtag aside while Noah soaked up the glory.
Are you crazy? Why would you treat him like a hero in front of everybody?
He actually seemed surprised by the question.
Because he is a hero. You know that better than anybody. You're the one he saved. Might have saved.
I amended.
Don't you think it's kind of cool? It's like going to school with Batman or something.
I glowered at him.
You're messing with me, right? Please tell me you've got the brains to tell the difference between that guy and Batman.
He shrugged.
Well, obviously, Noah hasn't gotten real superpowers or anything like that, but how many of us ever get to meet a hero?
I made a face.
So what? Hero or not, he is still a weirdo. I don't think that anymore.
He informed me.
Shrimpy little kid like Noah, I should have been able to wrap him around my little finger, you know? Why I couldn't? Because he's the super kid. He hadn't saved anyone yet, but that was always inside him.
Look, who turned into the big philosopher? Hashtag. Who half the time commuted via a series of grunts and scratched himself in his parents' picture window. It was the perfect end to a perfect day. At least we had something to cheer about. The Hornets destroyed Rutherford 9-1, even though hashtag couldn't play. The team dedicated their first win to Noah because he was their inspiration today. Hashtag himself handed Noah a game ball signed by all the players. Zane told him,
every time I started to get tired, I thought, where would we be if the super kid gave up? Where would Megan be?
Noah himself supplied the answer.
Burned up in a fire. I might have escaped.
I yelled once again.
No way.
Said hashtag.
You would have been a goner.
Noah added.
He means considering the combustion temperature of propane and the wood framing underneath the brick of your house.
I wanted to hug him again, this time until he stopped breathing.
Rah, rah. And Monday's chapter. Super spotty. Chloe Garfinkel. She's a new one. She hasn't done one yet, has she?
No.
Does anybody remember him mention? He's mentioned Chloe before.
Yeah, but I don't remember her. Yeah, they mentioned her, but I don't think we've had a chapter that she was the narrator.
I'm sorry, Jalen. Oh, so she was in the Genius Academy?
Yeah.
Jalen says she's from the Genius Academy. And if she is, I'm going to give him dojo points because that's pretty impressive because I just remember her name.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about the girl.
I don't either.
All righty. Well, we'll see you in 25 minutes.
Okay, see ya. Okay, thank you. Please go ahead to clever stuff there.